The police are here.
No?
Yes.
Are we busted?
I think so.
Yeah, the number of cars. And from there, it's straight to jail.
What we didn't know was that going to jail meant staying for 2 months, not just a few hours. In the next video, you'll see how we escaped after 30 hours, but those 30 hours were terrible. See you next week.
Hello everyone, it's Gabriel.
And Corentin, today we'll share what happened during our 30 hours locked in an American prison.
This video continues from last Saturday's release. If you haven't seen it, we recommend watching it for context first. We spent 30 hours in an American prison and it wasn't very fun.
To give you some context about this story, we were exploring an abandoned house in the state of Georgia. There was still a lot inside and exploring it was awesome. But what happened is that in the end, the police showed up, arrested us and handcuffed us in the back of their car. What we didn't know at that moment was that we weren't going to be taken to the police station for a simple holding or interrogation. We were actually going to be taken to prison for the next 2 months of our lives.
You'll see, in this story there are a lot of twists and turns and there are a ton of little details that we're going to tell you about today. Get comfortable because this is likely the worst experience we've had after exploring.
For anyone picturing American prisons like in movies, with harsh conditions, bad food and poor treatment, that's what we experienced.
It all begins with us handcuffed and put in separate police cars. So that's when the trouble starts. We're no longer together, we can't communicate anymore, and the stress starts to set in. And so we're gonna have about 20 minutes to be transported to prison at Cobb County Jail.
At that moment, we had no idea what was going to happen in the next few hours. Because I was talking with the police officer a bit in the car, he was explaining the procedure to me. And he was telling me, basically, at 6 o'clock, you'll have a hearing and you'll have a bail to pay. And you could be out of here by 6 or 7 o'clock.
Knowing that we got arrested around noon,
I thought, it's a bit long, but that's the procedure. We expected to leave at 6.
From police custody. For us, we weren't going to prison at that moment.
And when we get there, we're already going to see some things that are pretty disturbing. I think you'll see the same thing too. We arrive at a small, isolated street and stand before a large barbed wire fence about to open, leading us into a prison. We're already locked in with everything closed behind us and no way out.
We're made to sit on a bench while the police take everything from our pockets and backpack, including all our video equipment. And at that moment, that's really when the panic starts, when you realize what kind of mess you're in.
After waiting a few minutes with no one speaking to us, we saw other detainees arrive in the same room. A lady came to see us and asked us the first questions, like our last name, first name, date of birth, and she also asked us some rather disturbing questions. If we heard voices, if we felt like hurting ourselves or committing suicide, the atmosphere was starting to get strange.
She gave us several tests, like a finger pulse check and another that inflates.
It was awful. I didn't know what she did for me, but at that point we were still handcuffed when she put a cuff on us. My test took so long, I lost feeling in my arm and got pins and needles. It was awful. I asked her how long it would last. She said moving more will take longer. It was off to a bad start.
Meanwhile, the police officer who was in charge of our belongings started listing everything we had in our pockets on a piece of paper so he could give it back to us at the end. And also had to list everything that was in our bag. At that point, we were really panicking. That he might touch the secure digital cards, delete the GoPro footage, or lose something.
We'll continue the procedure. Each of us will be isolated at a table with hands flat and feet apart. They'll search us, pat us down, and take all our shoelaces, cords, watches, jewelry, and anything else we have. All our belongings are taken and placed in a small tray. We're slowly stripped of everything.
After that, we'll go through a 3D scanner so they can check that we haven't hidden anything on us or inside us. Luckily, we hadn't hidden anything in our bodies, so we'll move on to the next step. You should know that each of the steps we're going to describe here is pretty quick, but the whole process took between 40 minutes and an hour.
So the police officer accompanies us with our bins and our bags into another room where there are 4 small counters, where we have to sit and answer more questions from a police officer.
So the person will actually take care of our belongings. They'll put our bags aside, listed and labeled. Everything from our pockets will be spread out on a large white sheet with our belongings laid flat, then laminated. I don't know how to say that.
Vacuum sealed.
Vacuum sealed. We'll have a large tray with our items inside for storage, and we're to get it back at the end. After giving our belongings to the police officer, we'll pass through 2 armored sliding doors with an airlock in between. And from there, we find ourselves in the real prison.
At that moment, the only thing we have with us is a piece of paper listing the items we gave to the prison, and we have no other information. We just go sit side by side in a room where there are already many other inmates, and that's when the waiting begins.
And the good news is that there's a television where they're having a Pirates of the Caribbean marathon. It will begin with Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. At that point, we're pretty much in chill mode. We have the info from the police officer who said we'd be out at 6 p.m., so we're just in a good mood. It's all good, taking it easy. No, you should know that from the moment we're sitting in this area, there will be 3 crucial steps that we'll have to go through. First, I'll undergo a medical and psychological test, which starts immediately. I end up in a tiny room and someone immediately comes in with a shot for my arm. At that moment, I thought, no way. I didn't know what he was doing and I didn't want a shot. He said it wasn't a vaccine, just a test for tuberculosis.
Which I find pretty surprising.
I tell him I don't want it. He sits back down and says, no shot, you'll have to stay until tomorrow morning for a scan. I say, give me the shot now. I wasn't planning to stay until morning. I'm free at 6 p.m. Then he'll give me the shot and ask many questions about my mental health, alcohol, drugs, and similar topics.
I'm going through almost the same experience, but you gave me a warning first. I also find the injection stage very strange, because it's a blood test we've never seen before, and it leaves a little white bump right after. It's like they injected us with something. I don't really get it.
Just so you know, around us there are 10 cells, 8 of them are single cells, 4 are reserved for women, and the other 4 are reserved for men. And 2 cells are extra large cells where you can put between 10 and 15 prisoners.
And when we were sitting in the big hall, that's when one of the guards came to see us. Not just us personally, but all the inmates, and told us that it's lockdown time. So you split into 2 groups and you go crowd into the cells.
So we ended up with 10 or 12 of us in these big cells that are hellish with only 2 stone benches, a toilet, and nothing else.
And we thought that the lockdown time was going to be something that would pass very, very quickly, because someone had asked how long it was going to last, and he answered 7. So we thought it was 7 minutes. Actually, it was 7 hours in the evening. So we're going to be crammed into these cells. We can discuss the conditions. It is what it is. The floor and walls were filthy. The smell from the toilets was awful, and it was very cold. Then they'll bring us a meal.
Lockdown time is when everyone eats. Once a meal starts, everyone goes to their cell. I think it's to prevent smells or messes in the main hall, but in the cells, they don't care and probably never clean them.
So each of us is going to get a little carton of apple juice and a Tupperware. I don't know exactly what it's called. A kebab box? Yeah, a kind of kebab box. The apple juice is frozen so you can't drink it, and we open the box, and then we're horrified to discover something absolutely awful. Corn?
But not good corn. Really frozen corn that's not salted, not peppered, that really has no taste at all.
No flavor at all. Just 2 water-soaked bread slices and an okay piece of chicken. Below that was a large inedible white mush, which turned out to be potato. While we're still gonna make ourselves eat the corn, bread, and chicken.
We look at each other, both terrified by the food in front of us. We'll watch how the other inmates react. The rest seem completely normal. One inmate, whom we'll call Snoop Dogg because he was the oldest and resembled Snoop Dogg. You can see he's really comfortable. He takes his 2 slices of bread, puts the slice of chicken in the middle, takes a big bite. So that's what we're going to do. Snoop Dogg had all the right codes in prison and was really sharp.
After this meal, an hour goes by, 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by without us having any sense of time. The only little clue we could get was from the television. The news played in the distance, showing the time in small letters we couldn't read. So maybe we could tell when it was 4:30 or 5 o'clock, but it was awful to already be losing track of time.
We're going to keep watching Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, which is on television again. At least we had something to do, and we weren't the only ones watching.
We weren't the only ones losing track of time. Other inmates watch television to keep track of it. Now, the 7 o'clock news is about to come on, and then we realize that it's 7 o'clock. That's why he said 7 o'clock at the beginning. And we realize that there's a problem, and that we're not going to get out at 6 o'clock at all.
The eating period is over, so we'll leave our cells and return to the main room to sit facing the television. The advantage is, we get the time when the news airs on television, and we can use the phone too. We hadn't used it before since we expected to leave at 6, but now we're considering calling some people.
After a waiting time that already seemed endless, at that point we didn't know what time it was. We didn't know if it was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, but it was starting to feel really long. You tracked the percentages, which helped us feel closer to release. Then I was called in front of a guard, separated by a window. I can hardly see or talk to him since his computer blocks him, leaving only a small hole to speak through. I managed to see through his computer that there's a paper with my name and an amount on it. My bail was $1,320. I felt some hope then and thought, okay, it's expensive, but we'll pay.
No choice in any case.
He hands me the paper. I say, okay, I'll pay the bail. I want to get out now. I'll pay the bail. He says, very well, who's going to pay it? I say, me. And he tells me, no, it has to be someone from the outside.
That's bad luck. That's when things start to go wrong.
Now I'm starting to panic a little bit, and we try to call French numbers, but it's impossible to call French numbers with their phone. We call the consulate, but it's closed and doesn't answer. We asked the guards if there's another way to call French numbers, and he comes to tell us no, there's no way. Above the consulate numbers, a screen also displayed the names of companies that paid prisoners bail. I'm gonna call one to ask them, can you pay my bail? Will you come get me? I'll pay you directly and everything. They told me, no, someone in the state of Georgia has to vouch for you, otherwise we can't pay for you. I started to panic since our last option was gone. I asked her if she was the only one who worked this way or if everyone else did too. She said, it's like that everywhere. You won't make it.
At that point, we realized we were in serious trouble. We couldn't reach anyone in France or the United States. We realized we would spend the night in jail and possibly longer. Because even tomorrow, we won't have any more information to be able to get out. We're really stuck in a vicious cycle.
Above all, there's a sentence that will upset us and make us lose hope. As a last resort, we'll ask a police officer if we can use a phone for international calls. He says no, and we insist we have no choice and will be locked up forever. He replies, no, it's not forever, check your paper for a date. He had written April 25th. So at that moment, we understood that we were locked up in prison for the next 2 months.
Until the arrival of our trial in the United States. From that moment on, it was 100% certain we were going to spend our first night here. So we decided to go settle down in a cell to try to get some sleep very quickly, despite the fact that the lights were on all the time. We told you, it was extremely cold and everyone felt it, so we just observed as that was all we could do. And the regulars of this prison, or even of prisons in general, had a technique to warm themselves up. That is, you take your sleeves, you pull your arms inside and tie a knot, and you stay like that, and you try to warm yourself up however you can. That was really the technique, so we quickly caught on and did exactly like them. I'm going to curl up in a ball in a cell.
On concrete, because they were concrete benches, with the lights still just as awful.
Without a pillow. That's when Snoop Dogg returns with a new prison trick.
He had asked for rolls of toilet paper that he actually uses as a pillow. And he's going to be nice, he's going to give us some. Anyway, well, he was nice, but then we tried to sleep. Desperate. We're at the end of the world, unsure what to do and feeling completely alone.
We're all alone at that moment. We have no idea what time it is, but for us it's the middle of the night. Corentin will wake me to say it's my turn to see the man behind the glass for my papers. It also states there's a $1,300 deposit, and at that time a small mistake is made about the person. That is, my last name was spelled very badly. I mean, my full last name, it's like this. Poof! They took off the ending.
They took off more than half.
They removed the space. The papers I got aren't for me, but someone else. Maybe it will work out for us later. You'll see in the rest of this video.
You'll see with your passport number, you'll see.
Anyway, at that moment, I don't pay any attention to it at all. I just go back to lie down, and we try to close our eyes until the next bad news.
At that moment, I was sleeping on the concrete, uncomfortable, with a sheet to hide myself from the light. It was just as unbearable and gave me a terrible headache. I don't know if you had one, but I had a migraine. They came to wake me up, they didn't ask me too many questions, and they took me to a place on the side where there were 2 photo booths. There were booths for taking prisoners' fingerprints, so I knew what to expect. They took my photo, the famous mug shots. After that, they still didn't ask me any questions. They didn't explain anything to me. They took my fingers, they took my fingerprints in every possible way and everything. And then they gave me my prisoner bracelet.
Because, yeah, we didn't mention it, but at first we had a little temporary bracelet that looks like the kind you get when you go to a club in the end. This bracelet is more official, featuring a photo and personal information. Once you have this bracelet, you know you're going to stay for a long time. At night, I wake up, look left where Corentin was sleeping in front of me and see he's gone. Did he go to get a drink? Did he go for a walk? Watch television? I'm going to leave the cell to see what's going on. There, I see him on my left with 4 other prisoners in yellow uniforms, handcuffed. And that's when I realized we're really in trouble because they're taking them to the official cells.
I was speechless and helpless in that awful moment. They made all the decisions for me. At that moment, I really found myself all alone. I didn't know what to do anymore. I wasn't making my own choices. It was the guards dragging me like that. That's when I'll go through a door separating where we were from the prison and just walk toward the prison.
I see Corentin leaving in a yellow outfit, handcuffed, with no idea where he's going. It's a disaster since we had a plan. At first, being locked up with my friend was funny, but being alone is a much bigger mental challenge. At that moment, I just had to wait for the consulate to open at 8 the next morning. So I'm going to go back to the cell to try to get some strength to get some sleep, but it's going to be very complicated.
Once again, I find myself in deeper solitude. We're paired, handcuffed, moving forward silently in the cold. In a 200-meter hallway with harsh white ceiling lights and only one door at the end, there are no other doors. We gradually move deeper into the prison, We're going to take a first elevator where we'll be packed in, we'll go up, and then we'll keep going. A succession of hallways, all just as brightly lit with that awful white light without any doors on the sides. It's really a super strange atmosphere. We'll take a second elevator down, walk through more long hallways, then take a third elevator back up. I passed through countless armored doors, so I knew escape was impossible. We then entered a large room with a 10-meter high ceiling. I think I can make out the outside, maybe see a bit of light, some sunlight. Not at all. At 3 in the morning, I lost track of time. They sat us on a bench with a few mattresses in front of us. After collecting enough mattresses and sheets, they told us to take a mattress and follow. We carried our mattresses under our arms and followed him. A mattress that was super thin, a horrible towel, a sheet I wouldn't even give to a dog. They opened a cell for us, and I entered a large room with 56 beds. Tables scattered all over 2 floors, with showers and open toilets in front of everyone. And they don't say anything to us, so I see the other prisoners going to find a bed, and I do the same thing. I go upstairs, settle on a bed, lay down my mattress, put on a sheet, and think, I'm happy I can sleep even though I'm alone. A prisoner wakes up at that moment and asks me a few questions. I'm really out of it. I don't really understand. I reply with something, and it's probably 2 or 3 in the morning. The bright white lights above us still keep us awake and give us terrible headaches. At that moment, I take a sheet and wrap it around my eyes to get at least a little bit of darkness. And I'm going to fall asleep, and it will last maybe 2 hours before a guard wakes me up for no reason at all. He'll just wake me up and leave afterwards, just like he'll wake up a few other inmates. And I'll fall back asleep for about an hour until they come to let us know when breakfast and lunch will arrive together.
Starting from 5 or 6 in the morning. We find ourselves once again in lockdown time, and all the prisoners are going to be taken to their cells for breakfast. Once again, they're going to serve us something really bad. It's a small brioche, some cornflakes and milk, but it's completely tasteless. I'm completely alone, struggling mentally without my friend. Everything feels dull and cold, and now fear is setting in, not knowing how long we'll stay, if I'll be moved, or if we'll be separated. I have no idea at that moment. At the end of breakfast, it's impossible to get any sleep. I'm only thinking about the Consulate opening, which happens at 8 o'clock. I'm going to sit in front of the television, since that's where we get live news. And I watch every minute go by super slowly.
Everyone is going to get a big plastic tray that's really huge, with blueberry bread inside, some cereal, some kind of inedible mashed sausage, and a white paste. Again, something I wouldn't even give to a dog. The prisoners are about to eat. I only take cereal and blueberry bread, giving the rest to others. Hope this is my last meal here. I spoke with a few prisoners after first sitting alone. There are other prisoners who came to join me, who were with me, including Snoop Dogg, and another person with whom I'm going to get along pretty well in my solitude. At that moment, I'll know the time because there's a wall-mounted tablet in the cell displaying it. I'll realize it's too early to call the consulate, so I'll go back to sleep for another hour before waking up. Then I'll realize people can make calls, since all 5 phones in the cell are already in use. I'm waiting on my bed, hoping that a phone becomes available. The inmate next to me will tell me, no, that's not how you're going to be able to make a call. You have to go downstairs and ask someone to take the phone for you. Finally, after his turn, he'll go with me. He'll ask someone, after you finish your call, can you give the phone to him? So fine, I'll wait. I'm waiting at a table. The call ends, so I'm going to call the consul with the number that one of the guards gave me. I try to call. Once no answer, twice no answer, 3 times no answer. At that point I panic. I had written down another number on a small piece of paper. It was the car owner's number, so I decide to contact him. And then, miraculously, he answers. I'm happy and briefly explain the situation to him. He didn't know where we went. He ordered an Uber for us, but we were already gone when it arrived. He didn't get it, so I explained and asked, dude, can you pay my bail? He said he couldn't pay our bail since he didn't know us and lacked funds. So I gave him Seb's number, a friend from France we've explored with in China. Because at that moment, I didn't want to contact my parents. I thought it would be a bit too risky to let them know. This contact will call Seb and share the information. I asked if he couldn't call me at this prison. So in about an hour, I'll call you back and I'll go back to bed. How did it go? When you received a call from an American number.
And the
First call you got?
first call, do you want context? I don't remember. It was probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I was working from home, nothing special. I'm doing my tasks, work calls, Teams calls, and so on. Then a WhatsApp call. Unknown number plus 602 plus 1 already, because it's an American number. In parentheses, 602, something out of nowhere. I answer because it's an American number. I'm familiar with those, but it's a voice I don't recognize. Hi, are you the friend of Corentin and Sebastian? Surprised, I say, yes, but why? Well, something is already happening. I knew you were traveling and doing urban and other explorations. So, well, I tell myself, I know you're not in a safe place or anything like that. So, well, I respond a bit defensively. Yeah, but what's going on? Then he tells me everything. Yeah, well, they got arrested, they're in prison. So there you are, just working quietly, and suddenly you go from 0 to 100 and all the information comes out. I learned you're in prison, unreachable, and we need $1,500 bail each, but he can't pay because he's traveling. So many things all at once, and so I say, okay, calm down for a second, let me think about it a bit, I'll call you back, and so on. Yeah, man, it just happens suddenly. Just a typical workday.
Eight o'clock is announced on television. I decide to wait until around 8:10 or 8:15. To ensure the consulate is set up with someone to answer calls, I tried calling at 8:15, but it was impossible to understand how it works. Luckily, one cute prisoner says, "Whoa, that's weird." Luckily, a friendly prisoner who seemed experienced helped me out. There are several steps before making a call. First, select the language using the buttons. Next, enter your inmate number, followed by your assigned personal identification number code. From there, I can dial the consulate's number and make the call. After about a minute, a French voice will answer me, and then what a pleasure it is to speak French with someone. I'll tell him with a trembling voice my name, how I got there, and which prison I'm in. He'll say, okay, no worries, we'll see what we can do. What can I do for you? I'll give him my father's number so he can contact him since we still can't call French numbers. He'll tell me he'll call him, do what he can, and I should call back at noon for updates.
An hour later, I get out of bed again with a terrible headache because the light was honestly awful. I go out again, I go to the phone, I call the owner of the car, and he tells me that he got in touch with Seb. He thought the site was odd, so he gave me his cousin's number in the United States for me to contact. That's how I'll reach him and make first contact. When you first visit the site...
Yes, so obviously I tell him, okay, I'll believe your story very well. He explains things to me, tells me his status, so I look into it a bit myself. I first check if the information matches. You're in Atlanta, in Cobb County, and so on. Everything starts to line up a bit. He gives me the bail website, Cash Bond Online, which is such a kitschy name. Seriously, it's just pay your bail online, right? It's so bogus. So I try it, and already, you see, it's a website. It looks like it was made with a 1998 version of Microsoft. Honestly, really, the coder didn't do much, you know? So you log in, you get on. It's super simple. You enter the name of the... You can find the prisoner by entering the state and prison in the form to get all their information. I did some research and thought you were in Cobb County Jail. And then I type in your last name and I see like the Corentin Talamon record. And then I say to myself, oh, damn. And then, you know, you have two thoughts that start to come out. You say to yourself, damn, okay, he's totally right. Or maybe I'm caught in a high-level scam, but even for $1,500, that's still dumb. Anyway, I just imagine things, that's all. So everything is happening one after another, and in this case, I say to myself, okay, well, Corentin, it's very simple. Now I'm going to try to look into Gabriel, you see? I type in Gabriel de Saint-Exupéry and find nothing. I think that's odd. Maybe they spelled it wrong. So I start typing Gabriel de Saint and so on, and actually Gabriel de Saint came up. And then I see him too, same thing, in the same condition, same prison, all that. And at that moment, I start telling myself, okay, well, this is a very elaborate scam. Either it's really something serious. And at that moment, I start asking myself a lot of questions. So I have family. So in the United States, I call my cousin who is in the United States at that moment. I explain the situation to him a bit. So we call each other on FaceTime. For him, it was 7 in the morning. So I wake him up. He gets out of bed, really half asleep. And I explain the situation to him. I tell him, well, this happened, this and that. I explain to him that you were doing urban exploration. That's it. And the first thing, his first response is that it's a scam. He tells me, honestly, a guy calling you on WhatsApp, a number you don't know. Anyway, it's super weird. He wasn't really wrong afterward. Normally, when you arrive in a prison, you're supposed to have an embassy number. You're supposed to be able to contact your country, or at least the authorities from your country. So we talk. He told me that, well, he would look into it. On his side, he would ask his friends. He had a friend in the police. Well, he didn't get any response at all. So I kind of escalated this to the family group because we have family over there, same thing. All the responses were one-sided, it's a scam. So at that point, it makes you doubt a little. You think, well, on one hand, everyone is telling you, no, it's nonsense. On the other hand, I was still thinking it's quite possible that you were actually arrested. So, well, maybe I'll start to believe the story.
Did you try to call me or not?
And yeah, I tried to call you on your personal number. Well, obviously, it went straight to voicemail. When I asked how to contact you, he said I should call the prison at a specific number and request information about the inmate, or you wait for a call from the prison on your number and then you can talk to the person. We're waiting for his first call to confirm he spoke to you, then we can contact you. He also told us to be careful. However, you have to pay for a plan, basically a prepaid card of a certain amount of euros to be able to talk with the prisoner, so we didn't know that, so of course we had to pay about $20. Because to talk to you, you need to have credit to be able to talk to a prisoner in the prison. Well, it's doable, so we pay for that. You can't use the American way to call the French number. He said even with a French number, plus 33, it won't work. You need an American number. At that moment, I call my cousin again, who was in the loop at that point. We talk about it. He tells me, listen, that's perfectly fine with me. I can be the relay if needed to pass on information. From there, after that, we wait for the call. First, we call the prison to get the plan. It already took us 30 minutes. It was hell. And then we wait for your call, and then the horrible wait for the call, 30 minutes. And we wondered if Rooney already knew and passed on the right info, and if he knew Quentin had to call us, or if so-and-so did. At that moment, we were on FaceTime. My cousin on his computer, me on my phone. He's waiting for a call from prison. And we're talking about everything. And then we see a call, unknown number, American number, total freeze. We say, okay, let's go, silence. And so on a double video call, we've got it, and we listen. You see, you have a call from an inmate at Cobb County. Do you want to answer, yes or no? And we said, damn, it's real. My cousin stares wide-eyed on FaceTime and says, no, that's not possible. So we answer, and then, man, I hear your panicked voice. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
The rest was just legendary, you know.
After getting that call and hearing a French voice, a friend's voice and all, I feel happy. I tell myself, okay, I'm going to get out of here soon. I walk around the cell and several prisoners approach me, asking why I'm here and where I'm from. Some had guessed my nationality. I recall a prisoner once asking where I was from. I told him French. He ran to see his other buddies and they laughed about the fact that I was French. I walk, I wait. An hour goes by. 2 hours go by. They had me sign a paper giving permission to pay $1,300, so I thought I was signing my bail. After 2 hours, I worry and ask inmates why I'm still here after signing my bail. He tells me, don't worry, you should be out any minute now. The guard comes back to check the cell. He had QR codes to scan and was inspecting the cell. I called out, hey man, sir, I signed and paid bail 2 hours ago. Why am I still here? He says, you didn't sign your bail, just a paper showing you paid $1,300. Your bail isn't paid yet. And that's when reality hit me hard. I'm alone, feeling an intense loneliness. So I just go to bed with nothing else to do. I tell myself I'll spend tonight in the cell again.
We finish our call and I'm happy to have heard from her. So at that moment, I was pretty much sure I believed the story. And so now I have all the proof to tell myself, okay, you're really in jail, this is a mess. And now the only thing left to do is pay the bail. The website looks strange, but I tell myself I have all the information I need. Even if it seems sketchy, might as well try. So at that point, I talked about it with my cousin. He tells me, well, go ahead, just pay. And then at worst, honestly, it's dumb to say, but it's $1,500. It might seem like a lot of money. And if it can get you out of jail faster than expected, there you go. Otherwise, well, exactly. So 6 months, you see, actually, it changes everything. Afterwards, I don't know how you got the info about the cash born online on your end. I don't know if you gave out the information. I'm thinking, it's still strange that they didn't give you the info if they're putting you in jail to pay the bail, right?
I had written it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Because I had asked a guard how I could pay for it.
Okay, well, so I thought to myself, maybe he would still give me some useful information. And at that point, well, it's card in hand. You start to get really nervous. When you enter all your information, you wonder if it's going to work. And you don't know, you know? When I called you, I didn't know if Gabriel had reached out or what was happening with Gab. I also needed to pay the deposit. I hadn't heard anything, so I thought, okay, let's do quarantine first and see what happens. And then, you see the payment confirmation for $1,500, and you're just like, well, you cross your fingers, right? Anyway, we had planned to call you afterwards to confirm that the payment went through. So it was pretty stressful at that moment. Well, after all, I'll tell you, it's still just money, but...
The thing is, in prison, time really passes very slowly. By 9 or 9:30, I couldn't sit still. I just wanted to call the consulate again, which I will do. And so I'll find myself once again on the phone with the same person who will tell me that, unfortunately, Dad, you didn't answer the phone. He saw a United States number call and thought, that's odd, I won't answer ads. So I give my mother's number to the consulate, telling them, second chance, please call my mother. Let's see what happens. It was nearly 10 o'clock and I couldn't sit still. I needed an answer and wanted to know if he had any news. At about 10:30, I called the consulate again. He said he'd spoken to my father by phone. But you'll see, when one problem is solved, there's always another one that comes up, and the situation is going to get worse. And when I spoke to him on the phone the second time, he told me that he had left a voicemail for my father, which I'll let you listen to right now.
Hello, sir. My name is, and I'm calling you from the French consulate in Atlanta. Could you call the consulate back, sir? The area code here is 404-495. I just spoke with your son, Gabriel, so I have some information to give you. He's not in danger, but he was arrested. He's in jail right now, and I have a few details to give you. There's a bail to pay, so I wanted to give you some information. He asked us to contact you to see if you could pay the bail so he can get out. Have a good day.
Apparently my father paid my bail, so I should be a free man now. Normally,
I'm all alone in my bed. I'm going to have my breakfast that was given to us this morning, a small sandwich with slices of cheese. I'm going to eat it. Though I'm very sad, I hope this is my last meal here and will keep waiting. The waiting feels endless. I don't know what to do, so I just walk around the cell. I have a headache, so I'll drink water and lie down because I'm tired. And I wait without any sense of time, and time goes by. And now it's been 4 hours since my bail was supposed to be signed, and I still haven't heard anything. The guard comes back into the cell. Sir, my bail was signed and paid 4 hours ago. Why haven't I been released? He doesn't answer me. And he leaves. So at that moment, I think that's when I give up. And I tell myself I'm not getting out, I'm just gonna spend another night here. I just have to wait, and I start to get it into my head that it's a conspiracy, and that even if my bail has been paid, even if I want to leave, they can refuse to let me go. I can't do anything. I'm in prison with 15 security doors to get through first.
I learned that I'm a free man, so I'm really happy. I go straight to the person behind the bulletproof glass. I tell him my bail is paid and ask if I can leave with my things. He says it'll take a bit longer. When bail is paid, there's a list of people released one by one after payment. There are 4 people ahead of me, but it should be fine within the hour. He just needs confirmation from the office, and once the paper arrives, it should be fine. I sit and wait, telling myself I'm free. I watch television as a free man and no one knows it. But just 15 minutes later, they called me to take the photos just like Corentin the day before, with a big delay. I tell myself, fine, I'll take their photos. I don't care. Soon I'll be free. I get my mugshot taken, then they make my bracelet. That's when I realize what Corentin experienced before they took him. I realize I have to get completely naked, just like Corentin did. I try telling the guard my bail is paid and I shouldn't be here. It's fine, I can leave. Go talk to your colleague. He knows, but he just tells me, no, you're going to do it. I tell him, please, I've paid. He says to me, are you challenging my authority? And he starts squaring his shoulders, making it clear that he's the boss. And in this kind of situation, you shouldn't draw attention to yourself. You just have to do what you're told. Otherwise, it can only make things worse. So I'm going to do what he's asking me to do. And you'll see now, when Corentin told me it was humiliating, it really was humiliating. What happened? They're giving me a full prisoner's outfit and sending me into a somewhat isolated room that we'll have to get completely naked. Once we're naked, we'll have to call a guard, squat with our back to him, and cough 3 times to show that we don't have anything hidden in our anus. After that, we have to show that we don't have anything hidden under our testicles. And after showing that we don't have anything hidden on us, put on the prison uniform and put all our clothes in a plastic bag. And go sit on the famous bench where I saw Corentin sitting. So I find myself sitting on the bench where I saw Corentin dressed in yellow and handcuffed before he left. And at that moment, I tell myself that what's happening is terrible. My bail is paid. Unfortunately, just 10 or 15 minutes later, I end up in the other cells. Luckily, I'm very fortunate. The police officer, who saw that I had paid my bail, steps in, calms his colleague down and tells him he has nothing to do here. His bail is paid. He can leave now. I won't be moved to the rest of the prison. The police officer will return my belongings and tell me to get dressed. Wait until everything is sorted out, but I was told I should have been released just an hour after paying my bail. And strangely, I saw a lot of inmates who were after me on the list start to get released. At that point, I thought, this is really strange. I went back to see the police officer and asked him what was going on. He didn't really want to tell me. He said, I'm waiting for the paperwork. And yet a lot of people were being released right in front of me. At that point, I thought there was definitely something wrong, and I kept insisting, trying to get some information. I'll push a bit, but not too much, since things could go wrong anytime. And they explained to me that if it's taking so long, it's because he has to call a lot of people who are in the offices upstairs for my release to happen, because I'm not an American citizen. And they have a lot of doubts that I'll show up for the trial. So I understand that they're hesitant to let me out, even though my bail has been paid, and I'm really starting to freak out about staying here for a lot longer. They start returning my things around 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon. I see my backpack come in and my vacuum-sealed belongings return to me. They explain to me that I'm not allowed to open them as long as I'm in the prison, and they start escorting me toward the exit. And what a blessing! It's incredible what's happening. Maybe in 20 minutes, walking through the corridors, which are long, endless, and gloomy, I finally find myself outside in the open air and sunlight.
I'm going to lie in bed again, get under my blanket. That's when I gave up. I look up to the sky, I even pray, and I try to fall asleep. Then I hear an inmate downstairs shout, "Frenchie!" I get up and all. "Frenchie, you're free." Then I realize they called me, I didn't recognize it, and I'm free. It's about 4:15, 4 hours and 15 minutes since my bail was paid. I waited the whole time without any information, and then all the prisoners I had talked to, who were a bit aware of who I was and of my story, well, of our story, they were all happy for me. They all started to applaud. I gave my sweater to someone, I gave my things to someone, well, my cup and everything, whatever I had left. I'm so happy. I grab my mattress and leave, and the whole cell applauds as I go. I talk to a guy for a while, who gives me a fist bump and says, "Welcome to America." I'm happy, but not out of the woods yet.
Outside, I open my pouch, turn on my phone, and see just 10% battery left. I immediately call my buddy Seb, who was supposed to pay Corentin's bail. He picks up and asks, "What do you mean? You're out. How did you manage that?" and so on. I say, "It doesn't matter how I did it. Did you call Corentin?" Because his bail needs to be paid, so he explains to me that he got the information and paid his bail a few hours ago. Corentin just needs to wait a bit to regain his freedom. I had very little battery left then, so I'm going to order an Uber to go straight to the hotel that we were supposed to have left a few hours ago, on paper, to see if they actually kept our stuff and didn't just throw everything out on the street. That would be a disaster. And around 3 o'clock when I get to the hotel, they're going to ask me where I was, why I didn't sleep at the hotel last night, and why my stuff is still there. I'm going to explain to them that I was put in detention in prison. The 4 girls at the reception are going to crack up laughing. They'll ask if it's true, and I'll say yes, showing a paper with the prison's name. Then everyone will say, "Damn, bro, damn." And they're going to explain to me that Cobb County Jail is the worst prison in terms of living conditions that you can be placed in. For me, it's the end of an adventure. But at that moment, I still haven't heard anything from Corentin, so I'm going to go sit in the room and pray that it doesn't take too long, and really hope that he doesn't spend a second night in prison.
So I had you on the phone first, you called me back from the prison, you told me did the payment go through and so on. So it was the first time we talked on the phone since the payment. So I confirmed to you that it was fine, that it might take a little time to be processed, but that everything was good, that you were going to get out. 30 minutes after I called you, Gabriel called me from his personal number, which really surprised me. Since you told me you hadn't heard anything and didn't know if he was still in prison or not, I had the same experience, no news for 24 hours. And then I pick up your call on your personal number and there's silence. You reassure yourself it's okay, then hear Gabriel say, "Yeah, it's fine, I'm out, everything's okay." I reached the consulate, who called my father, and he paid. Then we talked about everything for 20 minutes. To find out how it went, he gives us all the information and everything, and so at that moment I confirmed to him that I managed to get you out of there. He tells me that he's going to wait for you outside at the exit, I hope. In the end, I think he went back to the hotel.
Because I was released 4 hours later?
There you go. So, well, after that, it's understandable. And no, so at that point, it was basically just waiting. From the moment I paid, it was just waiting 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, the time it took for the judge to receive the payment. And for him to let you out, right?
I'm getting out. They'll move me to the room where I first got my mattress and we'll wait for the procedure. I'm on the road to freedom. After another long hour of waiting, we'll retrace our steps through all the hallways and elevators. I return to the room where Gabriel and I had waited a long time before. I go sit down there, and that's when I realize that Gabriel has already left, because there's one of the prisoners working. Someone asked if I had a brother here. I said no. He replied, "There's a guy with the same shoes and bag as you." And so then I realized that Gabriel has left. and that it will already be much more convenient. Because I was just planning to leave, call someone to pay his bail or pay the bail myself as quickly as possible, and then there's still a long wait. It took a long time to get my things back and I was scared. When I get my things back, the guard asks for my signed bail paper. I tell him no one gave me anything. He tells me, wait, don't touch your things. Then I think, I'm not going home. And I ask, wait, am I not going home tonight? He says, yes, don't worry. So then it's okay. I pull myself together, he gives me back my things. I go get dressed in the cell where he had stripped me just before. Last night, we sat for a while. I talked with inmates being released with me and saw many others arriving. And then, after waiting for a while, you should know that between the moment they told me I was being released and now, more than 2 hours had already passed. They lead us down a small path to the exit, where we push open the door and breathe fresh air. And the feeling of freedom at that moment, it's incredible. And so that's when I immediately call Gabriel, because I know he's out. I'll tell him, I'm out. Let's meet at the hotel, have pizza, and enjoy our freedom.
Around 6 in the evening, I'm lying in bed with my feet up. I've already had a sweet drink, taken a shower, and really enjoyed myself. And then my phone rings. Quarantine is calling me. Hey man, are you out? He was free Gabriel and Corentin. We were outside then, so he'll meet me at the hotel.
And so in the evening at my place, it's like midnight 30. And then I see your phone number calling me. I thought, finally. We talked even though I was really tired and about to go to bed. Yeah, just 5 minutes to check in. Just to make sure you got out, that everything's fine, that you have all your stuff, that you're okay, you're safe and everything's good. And then you went back to the hotel and we called each other the next day to debrief a bit about all that, but it was pretty intense. Yeah, honestly, a great experience both for you and for me, I think. Something I had never done before and I hope I never have to do again. Oh, well then, yeah, no, it was exceptional.
Now it's just us at the hotel, thrilled to be released. We're about to demolish a huge Papa John's pizza. But at that moment, it's just the beginning of our problems because the story isn't over.
The story isn't over because actually we were released on bail. We paid money so we wouldn't have to spend the 2 months until our trial date in jail. But to spend them in freedom. But at the time, we were filming this video. In 2 months, we have a trial with the United States in Atlanta.
And so the problem with that is if we don't show up for the trial, we'll be declared fugitives, we'll be wanted in the United States, so it's a huge hassle. So right now, we're in the process of finding a lawyer in Georgia. And at the time we're filming this, we have no idea how it's going to turn out, but I think we'll hand the mic over to our future selves.
I think, to see how it went.
Yeah? Shall we go?
Let's go.